Welcome you to this webinar about Sustainability Introduction to Life Cycle Thinking, organized by Department of Chemical Engineering, St. Joseph College of Engineering, Chennai. I especially want to welcome our chief guest as well as our alumni, Mr. Shai Venkat Narayan, working as a Global Innovative Project Manager at Henkel Adhesive Technologies, Germany, and our HODs, Dr. R. Bhaskaran sir and Dr. N. Venkatesan sir, and my colleagues and participants from various institutions. Sustainability focuses on meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their needs. The concept of sustainability is composed of three pillars such as economic, environmental, social, and also known informally as profit, planet, and people. Sustainability encourages business to frame their decision in terms of environmental, social, and human impacts. Industry have issued sustainability goals such as commitment to zero waste package by certain ages or reduce overall emission by certain percentage. Industry can achieve their sustainable needs by cutting emission, lowering their energy usage, sourcing product from fair trade organization, and ensuring their physical waste is disposed of properly and with as small of carbon footprint as possible. Now, our guest will explain about the importance of sustainability in environment and development. So now I will hand over this session to our guest, Mr. Shai Venkat Narayan.
Thank you for the introduction, Karthik. I'm very excited and happy to be here. I thank the St. Joseph's Group for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to present in this webinar. Second of all, I would like to emphasize to all of you to please stay at home, be safe, and take care of yourselves in this difficult time. So, let's get started. Sustainability, Introduction to Life Cycle Thinking. When Dr. Bhaskaran approached me a couple of weeks ago, Sai, can you make a presentation for our students? I said yes immediately, and without any hesitation, I already told him the overall topic that I wanted to do. It was always going to be sustainability. It was always going to be. However, I asked myself, oh, okay, now that I've told it's going to be sustainability, but sustainability is such a vast topic with so many dimensions in it. What is it that I'm going to present? And I thought about it, and then eventually I came up with this agenda. I thought, what did I miss when I was studying? What could I have thought through at that point in time? And that is the reason why I thought I will spend some time in terms of life cycle thinking. So the agenda is as follows. First, let's see what is happening across our world, including our own city in India. Second, I would then move to introduction to life cycle thinking to give you the first flavor of it. Third, I want to once again emphasize how our industry is looking at sustainability. What is then happening? How are we viewing it right now? And fourth, what are what are the opportunities that lie ahead for you, and what are the key skills that are needed, and how you can develop? So let's get started. Now, as a first part, I want you to understand what are the expected key takeaways from this webinar. First, I want to stimulate your consciousness towards the environment through the first agenda point. With the life cycle thinking concept, I would like to then inspire you to develop a holistic thinking through the concept of life cycle thinking. Third, in terms of industries, I want you to understand the importance of sustainability from an industry point of view. And finally, with regards to key skills and opportunities, I hope we will be able to identify the key skills that are needed to succeed in the field of sustainability. With that said, I begin the first one. What are the challenges we are facing right now? Global warming. Don't we all know about it? Look at the picture on the left. We've all been through this, the Chennai floods in 2015. We all suffered. We all stood together. But this is happened again. Look at the right side of your screen. Look at the poor polar bear standing there. Look at the beautiful animal. It has no place. It has no food. It is suffering. The Arctic ice is melting. Global warming is here, and we are the cause of it. Second, look at the impact of chemicals. I believe you're all aware of what happened in 2019 with the Chennai smog. And it's the same again in Delhi, in Beijing, with so much amount of pollution. And on the right side, you see wastewater pollution in our lakes and in our rivers. This is happening. What is happening? Look around you. So much is happening. So much. We are at the epicenter of all this. And then the third, Much more disturbing, ocean plastics. Look at the beach in Mumbai when the cleaning activities are only briefly suspended for in 2017. How do these plastics end up there? How much waste is accumulated? Look at the screen on your right. Look at the beautiful animal, the big giant whale consuming plastics, and so many marine lives are being affected. What is happening around us? Our planet is suffering. We are suffering. The animals are suffering. Do we have guidance to save the world? Yes, there is the United Nations guidance in terms of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which has a target of 2030. We all need to contribute, not just industries, not just individual organizations, but we all need to do this together. And with this, I wanted to stimulate your consciousness towards the environment. I move on now. What does it have to do now? So now that you saw what's happening across the world, what is happening now? What can we do? And this is why I thought I need to introduce the concept of life cycle thinking. What is life cycle thinking? So immediately our mind, as I would have been as well, we all ponder about a definition, right? So I'm not going to give you a definition, not now at least. I want you to just take a step back. You have three words: life, cycle, and thinking. Look at them from an independent point of view. What can it actually mean? Let's take a simple example, right? Something that we use every day in our lifestyle. We wear the shoes when we start for our college. We wear them. We come back. We keep them again, and then we reuse it again and again. This is something that is there, that is part of our daily life, right? Let us take the example of a life cycle of shoes. Now, wonder, start thinking, what do you mean by life cycle of a shoe? You now have several examples of shoes on the right side of your screen. You have a formal leather shoe, you have a sports shoe, you have a Converse. What am I talking about? What do you mean by life cycle of this shoe? Think just for a brief moment, what can it actually be? Look at the screen to your left. Look at the number of materials that are needed to create a shoe. You need adhesives, you need cotton, you need leather, you need nylon, you need rubber. The life cycle of a shoe begins from its raw materials. Understand the number of raw materials that are needed to produce a single shoe. Push your mind now to think about all the materials that are needed to produce a single product. Take, for example, a water bottle. Take, for example, I don't know, a plate or a cup. Think about it from a life, how does their life begin? We as humans, we are born. When we are born, our life begins. We grow up, we die, and these are, let's say, the life cycle. And therefore, it's the same for a product, right? A product needs to be born, the product needs to be used, and the product then basically is then dead. So therefore, think about it. What can it actually be? Life cycle thinking. Let's still continue with the example of the shoe. Raw materials, they are the beginning. The life cycle of a shoe begins here. The number of raw materials that are needed to produce a single shoe, right? How does a shoe comes to life? The shoes need to be produced in a factory, of course. Think about the different processes. You need to cut, you need to glue, you need to stitch, etc. The shoe actually comes to life. What happens in the third step? It's a combination of many things together, right? Logistics, in terms of the shoes, once produced in the factory, they need to be shipped by a truck or by a air freight, etc. And then they come to your retail showroom. What is the retail showroom? Your Bata showroom. I always shop in Bata showroom in Chennai. And that is exactly what it is. You, the customer, then purchase the shoe, and then you use it happily for the next year or two. What happens then? We basically throw the shoe into the waste stream. And most likely, it goes into landfill. Some are recycled, some are incinerated, etc. The life of a shoe ends here. And this is the whole point of the message, Consider this as a holistic point of view. Think end to end, starting from raw materials. The shoe is coming to life. The life cycle of a shoe begins from raws. It comes to life to when it's manufactured, and then it's being used, and then finally it ends at the end of life. This is then the concept of life cycle thinking. I don't want to give you a definition. It should be a holistic thinking. Should be the new normal by which you start thinking and approaching your products that you use every day. Now, what can it mean? Now that I get the point. Okay, I get the point that I need to look at the different stages. Fine. Where can it help us? So here, any general example that you can see on the left side of your screen, not just shoes, but any product for as of matter, starts from raw materials. It needs to be produced. It needs to be shipped, and in certain cases, you have industrial processing, and then it is used, and then finally, it is being disposed of. Think about the environmental impact at each stage. Think this through. This is what life cycle thinking enables you to do. It cuts the life cycle of a product into different segments, allows you to understand what could be the environmental impact at each stage. And when you sum all of them together, you get your net environmental impact of that particular product. This is the concept of life cycle thinking. It is a holistic thinking. It is a skill. However, yes, it is a technical skill. Yes, true. However, this should be the new normal in terms of our way of thinking. You can apply this. Start thinking, push yourselves. This is the way we have to start thinking. We need to understand what is happening to our products. You don't just forget it after you're throwing it in. Start thinking when you're be more conscious when you actually purchase. What is happening? What am I purchasing? What is going to happen to this particular product after I purchase? What is going to happen to this? So this is the concept of life cycle thinking. How is the product made, etc., and so on and so forth. This is what I want you to start thinking, start pushing yourselves to move forward. And with shoes as an example, I want to then give you several other complicated examples in terms of life cycle of cars. Now look at, just take the example of cars. You are using this in your day-to-day life, right? And in this case, for example, look at the number of parts the number of raw materials that are needed to build a particular car. You need to produce this. There is so much amount of electricity that is needed to produce a single car. The car is then being used and then eventually being disposed of. Do you understand what is then happening to the car after it's being entering the waste stream? Sometimes it's landfill, sometimes its parts are taken away and then reused, etc. But this is the concept of a life cycle of a product. And in this case, it gets complicated more and more when you look at bigger products and more complicated aspects. For example, buildings, that one you see on the right side of your screen. Buildings here, for example, you need to have different raw materials, yes, and at the same time, you're also looking at lighting, electricity that is needed for building, water, wastewater processing, etc. And this is what I want to do. This is what my key takeaway message wanted to be at the end of this particular concept. I wanted to inspire you to develop a holistic thinking through the concept of life cycle. However, I know I still owe you a brief definition, and therefore, based on what we just discussed, so at the end of the day, what is life cycle thinking? It is a technical skill, true. However, it is a form of thinking. What is it? It is a holistic thinking from raw materials to disposal. If you want to know the technical term, then yes, we call this the cradle to grave. What does it do? It enables you to assess the environmental impact on each segment or each value chain step throughout the life cycle of a product. I know, for example, now in your program, in your bachelor's degree, you are also looking at chemical process industries, an example. And here, for example, this is then a concept that is applied to understand the different processes and then to optimize and become more efficient. This is then a decision aid tool. And of course, when you progress more in your career, this is also then, it is basically used for creating and designing effective sustainability strategies. And with that, we come to the third point in our agenda. Sustainability in industries. Let us take, we are aware that we have several industries, right? We have pharmaceuticals, we have chemical industry, we have consumer goods, etc. Let us take the example of a chemical industry to see how the concept of life cycle is actually applied. What I would do now is basically I would stop my presentation for a very brief moment. I will switch my presentation to a video. In a couple of moments, you will then start seeing a video that is then going to come up. So please bear with me for a couple of moments and vice versa. Once the video ends, I will once again pause it and then switch back to my presentation mode. So please give me a couple of moments. I will do it right away.
measuring how chemicals contribute to our low-carbon future. We all want a low-carbon future. The chemical industry is actively making it a reality. The intelligent use of chemicals can help avoid CO2 emissions throughout the life cycle of many products in many industries. From production, through use, and finally, recycling. Let's take a look at tyres, for example. An improved chemical formula in rubber has little effect on CO2 emissions at time of production. But look at the benefits later in the life cycle. Reduced rolling resistance provides better fuel economy throughout the tyre's use, avoiding emissions thanks to the application of chemistry. For industry, quantifying this avoidance during the product life cycle is essential to making the right decisions. ICCA's avoided emissions guidelines make this possible. Recent case studies using the guidelines include applications as diverse as carbon fiber reinforced plastics for aircraft, bio-based polyethylene, innovative concrete mixtures for buildings, stronger 5-layer packaging films, and anti-fouling paints for ships. These and many others avoid significant emissions thanks to innovative chemistry. An ICCA study carried out on a worldwide scale suggests following realistic global scenario by 2030 for 6 areas where chemicals play a key role. Light materials for transportation, efficient building envelopes, efficient lighting, electric cars, wind and solar power, and improved tyres. Together, have the potential to avoid 2.5 gigatons of CO2 emissions every year. That's twice the amount of CO2 currently produced by all the cars in the world. Avoided through the intelligent use of chemicals in just these 6 areas. So, the chemical industry has an important role to play in providing solutions for a sustainable future and a low-carbon society. Let's ensure that robust life cycle assessments are at the core of every solution we choose.
Right. So that was quite an inspiring video, I hope. This was the video I started again in 2017 when I first joined Henkel. This was a very inspiring video to me. I was able to address and identify so many opportunities within our organization. And I hope this is also inspiring you to address the topic of sustainability. Good. Now that you saw this video, what I wanted to do was show you some concrete examples of, let's say, the industry focus. Let's take a look at Coca-Cola, right? This is one of the products that we use in our day-to-day life. Look at what they're focusing on the left side of the screen. Climate taking action. 24% reduction of carbon footprint of the drink in your hand since 2010. Look at the focus areas of these companies. It's no longer just a social responsibility, it is part of their business. This is what they're trying to enable. These are positive aspects. Look at from where I obtained this report. It's from the sustainability report of Coca-Cola. And this is what I also encourage all of you to do. Whenever you have time as a starter to understand or to get the feel for the topic of sustainability, just Google any of your favorite companies, go into sustainability report, look at what they're doing, try to understand what they're aiming for. And this is how you slowly start developing an interest at the same time and understanding for sustainability and why it is important to the industries. Since we talked about shoes, I thought let's go for a very interesting brand, which is Puma. We all know Virat Kohli is the international brand ambassador for Puma. And here I thought I would take this as an example as well. What you can see on the right side of your screen is here as well. Look at the plastic packaging in terms of recycled paper. This is what they are focusing on. CO2 emissions in terms of 3% reduction. So everybody, all major companies are trying to have a positive impact on the planet. And it's not just that they want to have a nice social responsibility line, but sustainability has moved from a nice to have to a must do part of the business. For me to just summarize, in my perspective, what are the key topics that most industries are focusing on are energy and climate, under which you saw renewable energy in terms of wind, solar power, and electric cars, low carbon raw materials, and then we move to circular economy. We focus here on reducing our waste, recyclability, and reusability. And the third, health and safety, very important to eliminate certain very dangerous chemicals from our portfolio. Occupational safety and health, we need to focus on this to ensure we have sustainable operations. And by this, I want you to have the key takeaway message as understanding the importance of sustainability from an industry point of view. With that, I move to opportunities and key skills. Now, I'm fully aware that a couple of weeks ago, from my friend Lata Kannan, who presented basically several opportunities, I thought to myself, okay, most of the points were covered, but still, I wanted to highlight a couple of aspects. Especially, why only focus on industry? Why not research? Please understand that most of the work done by industries are usually stemming from great research work. It's not, we should not just focus on industry. Look at the different avenues. Normally this is not something that we think about when we first start, but however, this is a very interesting opportunity. People can pursue a doctorate degree. So much amount of research is going on in regards to this topic. You can work as a researcher, you can work as an innovation consultant focusing on communications and cutting edge innovations. This is something that you can do. And of course, there are the standard opportunities that are available are life cycle analysts, data analysts, sustainability engineers, and consultants. So what are the key skills that you then need to succeed in the field of sustainability? This was quite difficult for me to put together, because here I had, let's say, I had so much in mind, and I wanted to still put out, let's say, I wanted to, well, first thing that I thought was, okay, let's talk about the top 3 skills. And then I thought to myself, okay, why focus only on the technical skills? We need to emphasize the soft skills. And therefore I split this presentation slide that you can see into 2 parts. One is the technical skills that are required, and 2, I will speak about the soft skills. In the next slide, I will tell you how you can develop these skills. Let's talk about the technical skills first. Life cycle thinking, I still put it out there as a technical skill. However, I still hope after this webinar, I have inspired you to start thinking to the new normal. So you can read about them, etc. But this is for me, yes, it's a technical skill, but I hope this would be your new normal of thinking. Life cycle assessments. This is a very important skill set to have, especially in the field of sustainability. Life cycle assessment, however, please note, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, they require special knowledge with regards to sophisticated software, for example, SEMA Pro, Gabi, or OpenLCA. Data analysis, please do not ignore this particular part. It's very important. And also, I emphasize a bit to understand, have a bit of IT programming. This is also quite important. We tend to underestimate it, but at least this is a very important key skill. And at least you must have the ability to understand coding and at least create a few lines of codes. And for me, this was something that was a big learning when I moved into my master's. So therefore, I emphasize on the data analysis part. Please look at VBA, Visual Basics, and of course, Excel macros. And then I put in project management. I put in project management in both parts, as you can see, technical skills and in soft skills. Why? I will explain. Project management. In a technical point of view, you need to know how do you plan. You need to have scheduling skills, and of course, you need to have budgeting skills. These are, let's say, the core, the hard skills that are actually needed to succeed. And now I come to soft skills. I group the presentation skills and communication skills into one single bracket. I will explain a bit more about this in the next slide. Project management as a soft skill. Why did I put this here? This is a learning that I'm now having as part of my current role as well, where I deeply feel, and I have now a very strong connection to this topic, because you need to have empathy. You need to understand people. You need to learn how to motivate, and you need to know how to influence and convince. These are soft skills, but these are the most difficult ones to acquire and learn. So this will only come with time. How can you develop these skills? Like I said, life cycle thinking, I'm not even going to go into it in terms of, okay, I can send you numerous amount of links where you can learn about them in terms of technical point of view, but please, this should be your new normal. Every time you use any product, may it be water bottle, plates, clothes, etc., think about it, start thinking. This is the key message that I want to give you as part of life cycle. Data analysis, I personally used YouTube and other online resources, for example, LinkedIn. Linda, I think in YouTube, you also have, let's say, several tips and tricks with regards to using Excel. Lifecycle assessment, I would really recommend to do a master's program in environmental engineering or sciences. Please note, you can also have a head start by doing research assistantships and internships as part of your bachelor's program. This is really a quick way to get a hands-on experience on acquiring these LCA skills. Also note that the LCA can also be learned during master's program through several other degree programs, not just environmental engineering. You can also look at energy engineering, water resources management, other sustainability focused programs. With regards to project management, at least with regards to the hard skills, I would recommend to do Coursera for starters. And then if you're really interested and you want to have a deep dive, then I would recommend the Project Management Institute certifications. I am fully aware that this is a very much looked after skill by the industries. Please note that this is a very time-consuming process, so be prepared to go into the grind if you really want to get this PMI certification. Now I come to presentation and communication skills. Right, presentation skills. Class presentations is my recommendation. How many of you really enjoy these class presentations during I know when I was studying there, we were asked to make several presentations during the class programs. It can be very difficult. It's in front of 70 odd people, but they are still our friends. But still, every one of us are always shy. We always feel awkward, and my God, what's going to happen? Right? This is all. It's normal. You know, everyone goes through this process. I personally enjoyed the class presentations. However, whenever I got onto the stage, you know, it was still butterflies in my stomach. I wasn't going to show even before this webinar. Actually, most of them know. Uh, I was a bit nervous to start off, but you know, you need to have a bit of nervousness to ensure that you're on the right track. But nevertheless, I would recommend, please don't feel shy. What's the worst thing that can happen? You fail, but don't be afraid to fail. That's the important thing. They're all your friends. Take your time. Everyone would make fun of you. Yes, it's true, but that doesn't should not stop you from actually trying these things. So you know, that's quite important. And then I put in, let's say, technical symposiums. Yes, and then there's a key point. In both the presentation skills and communication skills, which is then amongst yourselves, right? So what do I mean by that? So for me, it's about discussing within your friends groups, right? You have so many friends, and I'm pretty sure about it. Therefore, why not present them? So I can give you an example of how I learned. For example, before my master thesis presentation, I actually sat in Zurich and I had a few of my roommates together and I said, okay, guys, look, I would like to present now in front of you. Please tell me what I can learn, what I can improve, what have I focused on, etc. They gave me really encouraging feedbacks, and that is important. And that is what I want to tell you as friends. Please provide positive feedback. Tell them what is nice about their presentation. What did you really enjoy? And you know, and then don't just criticize, but just put it in a way such that you're motivating them to show what they can improve on, what can they focus on. This is very important. I owe my presentation skills to several of my close friends, my mentors and my supervisors, and several of my colleagues who have really provided me with honest feedback to improve my skills. I ask them every day. People who know me, they know this. This is quite important to ask for feedback, learn how to improve. But the biggest thing with regards to presentation skills that I want to once again emphasize is preparation. Keep preparing, train your mind to present. Imagine you're standing in front of the stage, you're presenting in front of a huge opera of 200 odd people sitting there watching you, and you're practicing and practicing. This is how it's done. It doesn't come overnight. You know, you need to build the skill. It's a very important presentation skills. I even tell now to several of my to my brother-in-law as well, to you know, come here, come to me, let's present, and then let's see how you can develop yourself further. This is quite important. And I'm fully aware that you also have several group discussions. So really use this as an opportunity. And please, I'm 2 weeks ago, you also learned about Toastmasters from Lata Kannan. I would also really encourage that you then look into these aspects. Good. With that, we move to the next part, which is then what else can you do? There are several interesting webinars I would really recommend. Please follow Ellen MacArthur Foundations. If you're really interested in this topic, I would really recommend that you look into Ellen MacArthur Foundation. There is actually a webinar on circular economy tomorrow. I believe it's in the afternoon, your time, so this should be possible. I hope I have motivated you enough to sign up for this webinar. It's free of charge, so please, I would recommend that you sign up for these webinars. And there are also consulting companies such as Qantas who regularly conduct, let's say, webinars. For example, there is one on the 30th of June that I've signed up for as well, which is on the climate strategy. So, and then, of course, if you would like to know more about life cycle thinking, then I would really recommend that you check out the following link with regards to life cycle initiatives. I almost forgot one key point that I wanted to emphasize. Since we spoke a lot about presentation and communication skills, and in principle, what does it mean? In principle, we spoke about opening up and talking to each other. I would like to give a short message at this point. So I would like to emphasize on the need to speak out your problems to your friends, families in an open and honest way. Considering the recent negative events that has happened and are happening in our country, it is important to speak out and not bottle your feelings deep inside. My close friend once told me while I was feeling very down during a train journey in Zurich, since I just lost a job and I was looking for another one, he told me, "Why are you not talking to me?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a bit, not in the best mindset to talk right now. Let me get back to you after a couple of weeks or so." Basically, what I wanted to do was, I will talk after I get a job. I will talk after I feel a bit better about myself, etc. Then he told me, we are not just here to have fun in video chats or play cricket, but we are there for you even during your difficult times. That is what friendships are there for. So please speak out, share your problems. You are not alone. And this is the key message I wanted to give you on top of these presentation skills. So now we come very close to the end of the webinar. And here I would say, now if you ask me, can I really succeed if I have all the skills? Yes and no. Yes, of course, you need the basic skills to succeed. However, I put out, let's say, Captain Planet on the right side of the screen. It's not to tell you that, okay, I was inspired by Captain Planet from a very young age and that's why I'm in the field of sustainability. That is not true. But what I want to tell you is, think about ourselves as the Planeteers. What would Captain Planet always tell us? Planet is yours, and therefore the power is yours. You need to have a sense of purpose in your life, and you need to have the passion that then towards this field. And therefore, the most important skill that you really need is the right attitude. And with that, I hope this tells you that to understand how to identify the key skills that are needed to succeed in the field of sustainability. Attitude is the hidden skill that you really need to succeed in this field. Not just this field, but any other field that you're passionate about. You really need to be focused, dedicated, and really be passionate about, and not just treat it as a work, but it should be your life. That is my key message at the end of the day for you. And with that, I'm open for questions. I thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Sir, the first question is from the participant named Yashwant, and his question is that how can lithium batteries be used in e-cards?
Lithium batteries be used in what? Sorry, I couldn't get.
E-cards, electronic cards.
Aha. So this is, let's say, a very interesting topic, because lithium-ion research is actually ongoing from several aspects. I know several of my close friends in South Korea who are doing who have done significant amount of research on lithium-ion batteries. The difficult part right now is it looks very appealing when you look at it from, let's say, installing them into different variety of applications, for example, even in cars and etc. However, the end of life is still a very difficult task in terms of lithium-ion batteries. So therefore, there's a lot of research that is going on in this topic. I would really recommend that if anybody is interested to understand the overall environmental impact of lithium ions and how it's actually being used, to then have a look at several of the research articles. I believe Hyundai and Samsung, for example, are actually looking into this very closely.
And the next question is, how would you replace fuel in air vehicles?
Fuel and air vehicles. Okay, these are technical questions. Okay, fuel in air vehicles. Um, so, as most of you know, the transportation industry, especially the automobile industry, is going through a clear transformation process. I believe I will not be able to give you a very direct answer in this case as to how it can be done. But what I can tell you from what we just discussed today is to once again reiterate, when you look at how the standard automobile processes are, what are the standard fuels that you're using? You're using benzene, or let's say petrol, or in this case could also be diesel. And then when you want to then compare it to let's say cars that are run on batteries and hybrid cars, you can also look at, let's say, what is the overall emission levels that are being compared to, in terms of when the product. That's what the video actually shows, right? They show despite the changes in the raw materials, nothing really happens in production. However, when you start using the car, then the amount of emissions really go down, and therefore this is something to be of very much of interest in the automobile sector right now.
Sir, and the next question is, what are the challenges of sustainability faced by an organization?
That is an excellent question. That is really an excellent question. There are several challenges. First of all, like I said, sustainability has definitely moved on from a nice to have to a must do right now. So it's a big ocean. The topic of sustainability is it really is, and therefore it is important to understand what is relevant to a particular organization. Who are its stakeholders? Who are its customers? Who are its suppliers? Again, even here you need to think end to end, right? You need to think from the full life cycle point of view, even with respect to an organization. And therefore, um, let's say some of the key, there are several internal and of course external challenges. For example, I can tell you some of the external challenges that I'm aware of. In order to, let's say, obtain, looking at circular economy, and you're looking at recyclability and having these recycled content in packaging, you don't find very good pure streams of recycled content material. So therefore, let's say there are technical issues from the supplier point of view, and therefore this is one of the key challenges that I'm able to highlight. And at the same time, you're looking at to reduce your own operations and etc. So now we've set it up. Last years, many of the buildings have already been there, factories are already constructed. How do you then start to reduce? You see on the screen on the right here, um, these factories are old. Now we want to replenish and renew, and in these cases we are looking at, okay, what can we do to modernize and renovate? And this time we focus on sustainability. Let's say, I believe our Cochin airport, for example, when they reconstructed it a couple of years ago, it's powered complete, or at least mostly powered by solar power. And these are some of the challenges that you face as an organization. How can you move more closer towards sustainability? And how can you achieve, let's say, low carbon emissions as much as possible?
So then the next question is, what is meant by environmentally sustainable economic development?
Okay, now this is environmentally. You would have to repeat the point, please.
What is meant by environmentally sustainable economic development?
Environmentally sustainable economic development. Okay, so businesses have always have the desire to stay profitable and still continue. It is a question of how we can do our business in the right way, meaning, yes, we need the profits because we have to run the organization, but how can we do it in an environmentally sustainable way? And this is then the balance that sustainability always brings, right? Mr. Karthik also gave an explanation at the beginning of the presentation what sustainability actually is. This is basically you remember the Venn diagram with regards to sustainability. That's what the first thing that comes to our mind, right? You draw three circles intersecting them between profits, planet, and then you have the economic/social aspect coming together. So therefore, the intersection of this is usually where the businesses try to be, and this is how I would describe something as environmentally sustainable with the combination of economic.
And the next question is, sir, how far will renewable source play a vital role in achieving a sustainable society?
Oh, absolutely. Renewable energies, if not the future, it is the future is now. It is here right now, actually. We really have to tap into as many renewable energy sources as possible. You start with India is blessed to have, let's say, so much amount of solar power. And in Tamil Nadu, for example, we have a proportion of our energy really comes from wind energy. And therefore, it is the future. You need to stop using coal plants as much as possible, move more into the direction of wind, solar, tidal, and etc. Therefore, I would say the future is here. If we need to start using it right now. If not now, then I do not know when. So therefore, for me, it is absolutely vital that we move towards a 100% renewable energy as early as possible to save our planet.
Sir, and the last question is, what will be the future fuel from your point of view?
Okay, from my point of view,
Your
I'm
point of view.
really, yes, from my point of view, that's a good point. I'm thinking. So I read several articles online, and I'm actually fascinated by hydrogen fuel. I think this would be my dream personally to have this. I'm not fully aware of the overall impacts, but if I have to choose one from what we have, I'm really backing hydrogen fuel. Let's say as one of the most cleanest fuel source to move forward. Maybe that's from my perspective. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your lecture, Mr. Sai Venkat. Okay, I would like to express our sincere thanks to our guest, Mr. Sai Venkat, for sharing his valuable idea in this webinar. I would also like to thank our beloved HODs for their moral support and guidance. I'm very happy to express my vote of thanks to my staff members for their valuable suggestions and participants who made this webinar a grand success. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.